Have you ever noticed how just when you finally start to move on, he sends you a text? It always seems to happen at the exact moment you begin to reclaim your peace, when the ache in your chest finally starts to fade, and you're just beginning to remember what your life feels like without him. Suddenly his name flashes across your phone, and for a second your breath catches. It feels almost cosmic, as if he can sense your detachment from miles away. But it's not magic, and it's not luck. It's psychology. It's the invisible pulse of human behavior. A quiet tug of energy that happens when two people once connected are now out of sync. And today I want to share with you the truth that almost every woman overlooks when a man begins to pull away. The truth that explains why this always seems to happen just when you're learning to let go. Here it is. Men don't fall in love when they're with you. They fall in love when they're away from you. Let that settle in. Because once you really understand it, it changes how you see everything. When you're constantly texting, checking in, over-explaining, or trying to fix what went wrong, you're not saving the connection. You're suffocating it. You're robbing him of the very space his mind needs to realize what he's losing. You're trying to hold together something that only strengthens when given room to breathe. It sounds counterintuitive, but distance doesn't destroy attraction. It fuels it. Desire doesn't thrive in constant contact. It grows in mystery, in space, in absence. Men are biologically and psychologically wired to seek, to chase, to wonder. Their nature finds purpose in pursuit. The masculine energy feels most alive when it's moving towards something or someone it values. So when you're always available, always ready to respond, always proving your worth, you take away that chase. You remove the emotional distance that creates the friction of desire. I know it's hard. Silence feels heavy. Space feels like rejection. But the woman who understands the power of her absence is the one who becomes unforgettable. This isn't about manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about understanding how attraction actually works on a deeper, instinctive level. Connection doesn't grow stronger through control. It grows through polarity. It's the tension between closeness and distance, between energy given and energy withheld, that keeps love alive. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When you stop overextending and start holding your own center, you create the space for that transformation to happen. You stop trying to shape how he feels about you, and instead, you begin to shape how you feel about yourself. Because when you're anchored in your own peace, you're not waiting for anyone else to give it to you." Let's talk about what's really happening when a man pulls away. At first, everything feels amazing. You're talking every day, sharing stories, building memories. You feel connected, understood, chosen. It's warm, exciting, almost addictive. And then suddenly something shifts. The energy changes. His texts slow down. His calls fade. His enthusiasm dulls. You can feel it before you even see it. That subtle withdrawal that makes your stomach twist. You start to wonder what you did wrong. Did I say something? Was I too much? Is he losing interest? And your brain spirals into overdrive, searching for answers that don't come. But here's the truth most women never hear. When a man pulls away, it doesn't necessarily mean you did something wrong. It doesn't even mean he's lost interest. Sometimes it means the opposite. Masculine energy is cyclical by nature. It moves in waves, forward, then back, connection, then solitude. Just like the tide, it has to retreat before it can return. When a man feels closeness and emotional intensity, he may instinctively step back, not because he doesn't care, but because he needs space to recalibrate, to process, to think. He's not rejecting you. He's regulating himself. Think of it like a rubber band. When stretched, it pulls back naturally, only to spring forward with more strength and momentum. That's the natural rhythm of masculine desire. The problem is, most women misinterpret that pullback. They feel the shift and immediately panic. They start chasing reassurance, reaching out, trying to fix what feels off. They call, they text, they analyze, but all that does is create pressure. It sends the message that your emotional balance depends on his behavior. And pressure, even subtle, Emotional pressure is the fastest way to make a man retreat even farther. What he needs in that moment is not more of your energy, but the absence of it. He needs to feel what life is like when your warmth isn't flooding his world. He needs to experience that quiet void where your presence used to be, because only then does he begin to recognize what he truly values. When a woman allows that space without reacting from fear, she becomes powerful. Not cold, not distant, but powerful. She stands in her stillness, in her calm, and she lets the distance do what it's meant to do. Create contrast. That's when he starts to remember the feeling of being around her, not because she reminded him, but because she allowed him to miss it. It's in her silence that he hears his own thoughts, his own longing, his own desire, and if the connection is real, he will move toward her again. Not because she chased him, but because she didn't. This is the paradox of attraction. The more you try to hold on, the more it slips away. The moment you let go, it starts to return. Most women think they need to do more to keep his attention. But the truth is, the woman who holds her center, who stays soft but self-respecting, who doesn't beg for attention or clarity, is the woman who lingers in his mind long after everyone else fades. It's not about punishing him. It's about protecting your peace. Because if he's meant for you, he'll come back with clarity, not confusion. And if he doesn't, that's not a loss. That's a revelation. You didn't lose him. You revealed him. A man pulling away is a mirror. It reflects back to you where you still seek validation outside yourself. It shows you the parts of you that still equate silence with unworthiness. The parts that still fear being alone. When you resist the urge to chase and instead root deeper into your own worth, everything changes. You stop waiting for him to make you feel chosen, and you start choosing yourself. You stop reacting and you start radiating. That's when the energy flips. You become the woman who doesn't chase connection. She creates it. And the right man won't want to risk losing that. So when he pulls away, breathe. Don't chase, don't spiral. Don't start reaching for closure he hasn't earned. Sit in your power. Let the silence speak. Because silence isn't weakness. It's the most powerful sound he'll ever hear. When he senses that your peace doesn't depend on his presence, he'll start to feel the absence of your energy, like a shift in the air. He'll realize what's missing, not because you told him, but because he felt it. That's when he begins to understand your worth. There's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't flinch when the energy changes. She doesn't panic when he takes hours to reply. She doesn't overthink every message or read too deeply into every pause. She doesn't lose her composure. She's calm, grounded, radiant. And that energy, that quiet, unshakable confidence, is irresistible. Because it tells him, I'm not waiting for you to complete me. I was whole before you arrived. That is the unbothered mindset. Not coldness, not indifference, but the knowing that your emotional world belongs to you. Love is not about losing yourself in someone else's rhythm. It's about staying rooted in your own and allowing them to meet you there. When you embody that truth, everything about your energy changes. And that change speaks louder than any words ever could. There's something profoundly powerful about the moment a woman decides to stop chasing. Not out of pride, not out of ego, but out of self-awareness. Because when she stops reaching, she begins to receive. That's the quiet shift that changes everything. When your energy turns inward instead of outward. When you realize that you don't have to convince anyone to stay. What's meant for you will always feel natural, not forced. This is where the true strength of feminine energy lives. Not in striving, but in stillness. Not in control, but in trust. The woman who embodies that truth radiates something rare, something magnetic, something that can't be taught but can absolutely be felt. Men in their nature are drawn to peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from silence or withdrawal, but the kind that lives inside a woman who knows herself deeply. The one who is calm in uncertainty, confident in solitude, and rooted in self-worth. This is why when she leans back, she doesn't lose him. She gives him room to find his way back on his own. Because true attraction is not built through chasing. It's built through polarity. Masculine and feminine energy needs space between them to create movement. Without that space, everything becomes stagnant. When you understand this, you stop fearing his distance. You start to see it for what it really is. The natural rhythm of connection. The breath that keeps love alive. This is where the concept of the unbothered mindset begins to unfold. It's not about being cold, detached, or pretending you don't care. It's not about playing games or withholding affection to manipulate him. True unbothered energy is about emotional sovereignty, the ability to hold your own vibration regardless of what's happening around you. It's about mastering your emotional responses and choosing presence over panic. The unbothered woman doesn't live in denial of her feelings. She simply refuses to be ruled by them. She knows that emotional intensity doesn't always mean emotional truth. She pauses before reacting. She breathes before speaking. She allows time and space to reveal what's real. And that restraint, that composure is magnetic beyond words. Most women have been conditioned to believe that love means effort, constant communication, endless reassurance, a steady stream of giving. But the truth is, real love doesn't require constant proving. It requires authenticity. It requires presence. When you're always available, you dilute your value. When you chase validation, you teach someone that your worth depends on their attention. And when you overinvest too early, you unbalance the energy that creates attraction in the first place. A man isn't drawn to the woman who needs him. He's drawn to the woman who inspires him to rise. The one who doesn't beg to be chosen, but naturally evokes his desire to choose her. This is what feminine energy truly is. Not submission. Not passivity, but power and receptivity. It's the art of allowing. It's grace under pressure. It's knowing when to move and when to stay still. Feminine energy doesn't chase. It attracts. It doesn't demand. It invites. It's fluid, intuitive, and alive. It doesn't need to shout to be heard because it speaks through presence. When you embody your feminine energy, you begin to communicate without words. Your stillness becomes your language. Your composure becomes your magnetism. And that shift changes how men see you, how they approach you, and most importantly, how you see yourself. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The same applies to love. Until you become aware of the subconscious patterns driving your reactions, the need for validation, the fear of rejection, the compulsion to overgive, you'll keep repeating them, mistaking them for destiny. But when you finally see them clearly, you gain control over them. You begin to understand that his withdrawal doesn't mean abandonment. It's just a trigger touching an old wound within you. When you start to heal that wound, when you learn to hold yourself in the space where you used to panic, that's when you shift from reaction to mastery. You see, love is not about who texts first, who cares more, or who holds the upper hand. It's about energy. It's about emotional balance. When you cling, you push love away. When you relax, you allow it in. That doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you hold them with grace. When he pulls away, instead of spiraling into fear, you redirect your focus. You pour into your own life. You return to the things that light you up. Your goals, your creativity, your friendships, your passions. You remind yourself that you are a whole, complete woman with or without his attention. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. And ironically, that alignment is what draws him back. Because he can feel the shift. Men feel energy before they understand it. When you're desperate, they sense it. When you're calm, they sense that too. One repels, the other attracts. There's an invisible power that lives in a woman who knows she has nothing to prove. Her silence isn't a weapon, it's a boundary. Her distance isn't manipulation, it's self-respect. She doesn't rush to fill every gap in conversation or overcompensate for his uncertainty. She trusts that what's meant to stay will stay, and what needs to fall away will fall. That kind of trust comes from experience, from the pain of past chasing, from the exhaustion of overgiving, from the realization that peace is more valuable than potential. When she finally understands that, she becomes unshakable. Her energy softens, her focus expands, and her presence becomes effortless. She no longer worries about losing someone who doesn't choose her. Because she knows that losing someone who doesn't value you is never a loss. It's liberation. There's a distinct energy shift that happens when a woman reclaims her power. Suddenly, her texts are shorter, not out of coldness but clarity. Her responses are slower, not out of disinterest but balance. Her tone is calm, her presence steady, her vibe unmistakably centered. And it drives men wild. Not because she's playing games, but because she's radiating certainty. Certainty is rare. Most people are chasing validation. The few who know their worth stand out effortlessly. The masculine energy is instinctively drawn to that kind of grounded feminine energy. It triggers something deep, something primal. He wants to understand it, earn it, protect it. But remember, this isn't about manipulating a man into chasing you. It's about shifting your inner world so that you naturally inspire pursuit without trying. You're no longer reacting to him. You're responding to yourself. You're listening to your own energy before you move. You're asking, am I reaching out because I want to connect, or because I'm afraid of losing him? If the answer comes from fear, you wait. You breathe. You hold space for yourself first. That's how you build emotional maturity. That's how you stop letting external behavior dictate your internal state. When you reach this level of calm self-trust, your relationships begin to transform. You stop attracting chaos because chaos no longer feels like home. You stop entertaining confusion because your boundaries won't allow it. And you stop chasing clarity from people who communicate in half-truths and silence because you've learned to create your own peace instead of begging for it. That's when you become unforgettable. Not because of your looks, your words, or your effort, but because of your energy. The right man won't be able to stay away. Not because you're difficult to get, but because you're impossible to forget. Feminine power doesn't roar. It doesn't beg. It doesn't compete. It simply is. It's quiet, certain, graceful. And when you start to embody that, you stop fearing the distance and start mastering it. Because you'll realize that every time a man pulls away, it's not the universe punishing you. It's the universe teaching you to choose yourself first. The woman who understands that never loses anything she's not meant to keep. She becomes the one who sets the tone, not just in love, but in life. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that the chase has never been about love. It's been about worth. We chase not because we truly believe the person is irreplaceable, but because we believe their validation confirms our value. It's the subtle illusion that if we can just get them to stay, to choose us, to see our worth, then maybe we'll finally feel enough. But the truth is, every time you chase someone who's pulling away, you're abandoning yourself a little more. You're teaching your nervous system that love means effort, anxiety, and proving. And that's not love, that's survival. The shift begins when you stop making their attention your oxygen. When you stop confusing emotional intensity with connection. Because love isn't supposed to feel like walking on eggshells, or second-guessing every word you say. Love doesn't need to be chased. It flows where it's reciprocated, it deepens where it's safe, and it grows where both people are emotionally available, not just physically present. That's why the most magnetic thing you can ever do is learn to feel safe in your own presence, to make your own energy the calmest place you know. When a woman feels at home within herself, everything changes. The way she speaks softens, her body language relaxes, her energy becomes expansive instead of restless. She no longer reaches outward for reassurance because she's anchored inward in truth. She knows that her worth is not a performance, and love is not a prize. This kind of inner security doesn't mean she never gets hurt. It means she trusts herself enough to survive whatever happens. And that trust radiates. It's visible. You can see it in her eyes, in the way she carries herself, in the silence she keeps. That's the woman who doesn't chase love. She attracts it. Men feel this shift deeply, even if they can't explain it. When you stop reacting to their distance, when you stay graceful instead of grasping, they feel it as both unfamiliar and magnetic. Because so few women know how to hold that balance. The balance of care without clinginess, of warmth without need. Most people have been conditioned to equate love with constant communication, instant replies, and emotional overexposure. But emotional maturity lives in restraint. It's knowing that connection doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be felt. This is where your power lies, in your ability to hold space for uncertainty without collapsing, in your ability to sit in the silence without trying to fill it, in your ability to trust that if someone truly values you, they'll find their way to you, not because you begged them to, but because they wanted to. The unbothered woman doesn't build walls. She builds boundaries. She's not guarded. She's grounded. And that distinction is everything. Because when you're grounded, your energy says, I'm open, but I'm not available for anything that costs me my peace. This is the kind of energy that creates polarity and that quiet confidence that draws people closer without you doing a thing. Because it's not your beauty or your words that captivate. It's your presence. The way you walk into a room without rushing to be seen. The way you listen without trying to prove a point. The way you smile without expectation. It's energy. It's depth. It's a woman who's no longer performing, but simply being. That kind of energy can't be replicated or faked. It's not something you do. It's something you become. Feminine magnetism is born from emotional freedom. It's born from self-trust, from surrender, from letting go of the outcome and simply living in alignment with your truth. When you embody that, you stop trying to manipulate timing, behavior, or reactions. You stop needing closure from people who couldn't even give you consistency. You start understanding that your peace is your power, and that no amount of external validation can replace inner alignment. That's when everything begins to flow. Opportunities, love, connection, clarity, because the universe responds to grounded energy. It mirrors your inner state. When you're anxious, you attract confusion. When you're centered, you attract alignment. When you're desperate, you attract avoidance. But when you're calm, deeply, truly calm, you attract people who want to meet you where you are. That's why healing isn't just emotional work. It's energetic work. It's training your nervous system to feel safe in stillness. It's learning that someone's silence doesn't mean danger. It's teaching your body that you can survive being alone, that solitude isn't punishment but power. The truth is, the woman who has mastered the art of being unbothered doesn't need to say much. Her energy speaks for her. She can walk away from mixed signals without bitterness. She can let unanswered texts stay unanswered. She can choose peace over explanation. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's learned that clarity never comes from chaos. She understands that when something requires constant guessing, it's not alignment, it's confusion. And she refuses to build her peace on unstable ground. You see, the unbothered mindset isn't about indifference. It's about self-respect. It's about recognizing that your attention is sacred, your presence is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it. When you treat your energy as precious, you stop handing it to people who haven't earned it. You stop begging for reciprocity from those who only take, and that's when your entire vibration shifts, because the universe mirrors how you treat yourself. When you raise your standards, everything around you recalibrates. And yes, the moment you start to pull your energy back, some people will feel it. They'll sense the shift. They'll reach out. But this time, you'll see it clearly. You'll know who's returning out of genuine connection and who's coming back because they feel your absence and want to feed off your energy again. The difference will be obvious because you're no longer operating from lack. You're operating from awareness. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're inviting someone who complements you. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you could love them deeply, but you'll still be fine if you don't. That's the ultimate freedom. When you no longer chase, beg, or force, you begin to attract what's meant for you effortlessly, because what's meant for you will never need to be convinced. It will meet you where you are, calm, sure, aligned. The chase ends the moment you realize you were never meant to run. You were meant to receive. This is the heart of true feminine energy. Softness with strength, openness with discernment, love with boundaries. You can be kind without being a pushover. You can be nurturing without being naive. You can be vulnerable without losing your power. When you embody this balance, your energy becomes undeniable. You no longer have to prove your worth. Your presence proves it for you. And here's the secret that changes everything. When you become this woman, You stop trying to get love and you start becoming love. You stop looking for validation and start radiating it. That's when you begin to attract from overflow, not from emptiness. That's when life starts to mirror back the energy you've cultivated within. So when he pulls away again, as people sometimes do, smile softly and let him. You've learned that your peace is too expensive to trade for uncertainty. You've learned that your worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's capacity. You've learned that being unbothered isn't apathy, it's mastery. Because you finally realized that you were never meant to chase love. You were meant to embody it. When a woman truly steps into her power, she begins to understand that attraction isn't about strategy, timing, or manipulation. It's about energy. It's about presence. It's about the invisible but palpable field she creates when she chooses herself first, when she aligns with her own values, and when she refuses to shrink for anyone else's comfort. At this level, she no longer worries about texts, timing, or whether someone is invested enough. She understands that real connection is earned through consistency, integrity, and shared energy, not through constant proving or overexposure. Her calm becomes magnetic because it signals that she is whole, complete, and unshakable, regardless of who comes and goes. Masculine energy responds to this naturally. Men are wired to chase feelings, not logic. They pursue what sparks desire, intrigue, and curiosity. They're drawn to the energy that challenges them, that makes them think, wonder, and want. When a woman stops performing, stops over-explaining, and stops chasing, she ignites a powerful psychological truth. Absence creates longing, and curiosity creates pursuit. She doesn't need to manipulate him, guilt him, or test him. She simply allows her energy to communicate its own worth. That is the essence of feminine power. Not control, but influence. Not attachment, but presence. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And that awakening is precisely what transforms a woman from ordinary to magnetic. When she looks inward, she recognizes that her happiness, her peace, her power, and her love are not dependent on anyone else. They exist independently, fully formed. This realization shifts the dynamic entirely. Men respond to women who are complete in themselves because it awakens desire, curiosity, and admiration. They feel a magnetic pull toward a presence that is not frantic, not needy, but alive and radiant. This is where true embodiment comes in. It's not enough to understand these concepts intellectually. You must live them. You must feel them. You must anchor them in your body, your posture, your tone, your gaze, and your interactions. Feminine energy is in motion and in stillness simultaneously. It is the way you relax your shoulders, take a deep breath, and walk with quiet confidence. It is in the subtle way you make eye contact, then look away, allowing the other person to feel the space you hold. It is the rhythm of your speech, the ease of your smile, and the clarity with which you speak your truth without needing validation. Every action, every pause, every presence signals that you are grounded, centered, and certain of your worth. When a woman embodies this energy fully, she stops chasing closure from those who couldn't give it. She stops over-explaining her feelings or justifying her value. She doesn't beg for attention or affection because she knows her energy is enough. She doesn't collapse into fear when someone withdraws. Instead, she observes, waits, and trusts the natural rhythm of connection. The right people move toward her because they want to, not because she coerces them with anxiety or overinvestment. That is the secret that few women are ever taught. Attraction is a reflection of energy, not effort. The magnetic woman also understands the art of boundaries. She knows what she will accept and what she will not. She understands that consistency matters more than charm, and that respect is earned through alignment, not negotiation. When she expresses her standards calmly and without apology, she signals self-respect. She communicates that her energy is precious and not available to anyone who undermines it. This kind of clarity doesn't push people away who are genuinely aligned with her. It filters out those who are not. In other words, her standards are not walls, they are gates, and they protect her peace while amplifying her allure. Emotional imprinting is another key aspect of feminine magnetism. Men remember women who make them feel alive, who awaken something deep in them that logic cannot explain. This happens when a woman is fully present, emotionally expressive without being dramatic, playful yet grounded, and authentically herself. Every shared laugh, confident smile, and moment of vulnerability becomes a memory that lingers. These impressions create a pull that's more lasting than constant messaging or surface-level attention. They leave an imprint on his subconscious, a reminder of the energy only she can bring. And that energy, once experienced, becomes unforgettable. At the heart of all this is the understanding that you are the prize, not in the sense of ego or superiority, but in the sense of intrinsic, unshakable value. When a woman truly knows she is enough, she no longer gives power away by seeking external validation. She doesn't chase because she doesn't need to. She invites because she can. She doesn't fear rejection because she knows that her worth is innate. This awareness transforms every interaction. She becomes magnetic not because she is manipulative, but because she is aligned. Her energy is irresistible because it is honest, grounded, and authentic. The beauty of this embodiment is that it doesn't just attract the right partner. It elevates everything in her life. Opportunities, friendships, and experiences begin to mirror the energy she holds within. Her confidence in herself becomes a beacon, signaling to the world that she is grounded, capable, and deserving. She is no longer at the mercy of anyone else's choices, and that freedom is profoundly attractive. It creates a feedback loop. The more she values herself, the more she attracts those who do the same. The more she embodies her truth, the more her life reflects alignment, not compromise. One of the most overlooked truths about attraction is that it thrives on polarity. Masculine energy naturally responds to feminine energy that is soft yet strong, receptive yet firm, open yet discerning. When a woman embodies this combination, she triggers desire without trying. She draws people in because her energy is magnetic, not because she is performing or strategizing. The pull isn't from scarcity or fear. It's from abundance and alignment. Men are instinctively drawn to women who hold themselves as complete, not women who seek completion from them. This is why chasing never works, and self-alignment always does. In practical terms, this means choosing yourself consistently. It means prioritizing your goals, your passions, and your peace above external validation. It means holding your boundaries with grace, communicating your needs without apology, and responding to distance with patience rather than panic. It means cultivating presence, mystery, and emotional depth in every interaction. And it means living in a way that is unapologetically true to who you are. Confident, radiant, and grounded. Because when you do, you don't just attract the right man, you attract the right life. Finally, this transformation is deeply spiritual. It requires trust in the natural rhythm of connection and a commitment to inner alignment above all else. It's about surrendering the illusion of control and embracing the reality that energy, not effort, dictates attraction. It's about understanding that the right people will be drawn to your light, not your desperation. It's about moving through life with ease, grace, and certainty, knowing that your value does not fluctuate based on anyone else's attention. When a woman fully embodies this, she becomes a force of nature, calm yet magnetic, soft yet untouchable, open yet impervious to manipulation. And here's the final truth that ties it all together. Men are drawn to women who are whole, not women who are waiting to be completed. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is feminine power. When you step into this truth, when you stop chasing and start embodying, your life shifts. Your relationships shift. Your energy shifts. You stop reacting to the external world and begin shaping it from the inside out. You no longer need to wonder if he will chase, if he will commit, or if he will stay. You know that what is meant for you will move toward you naturally, effortlessly, and respectfully. In the end, the woman who truly becomes magnetic does not chase, beg, or perform. She chooses herself first, radiates her energy fully, and holds her peace as sacred. She understands that distance and absence are tools, not threats. She knows that attraction is fueled by energy, presence, and alignment, not by effort or desperation. And she knows that her worth is inherent, unwavering, and undeniable. Carl Jung reminds us, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. By knowing yourself, by embracing your power, by holding your energy steady, you illuminate the path for others to meet you where you are. And that illumination is magnetic. That is irresistible. That is unforgettable. That is the woman who does not chase, but draws love, respect, and alignment effortlessly. That is the prize, and she knows it.